Hi, it's time to change the trays on my worm factory, and basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to take an empty tray here, and that's going to become the new top tray, and I'm going to remove the lower tray and then harvest the compost that's in that. First thing I'm going to do is drain off any liquid that might be in the bottom there, and it doesn't look like I'm going to get much here today. I'll let that drip just a little bit while I get the rest of the stuff ready. Okay, it didn't drip any significant amount. Now somebody asked me how much liquid I get out of this, and draining out the bottom, I might get like a half a cup on a daily basis, sometimes less, sometimes more, but it doesn't go to waste. We dilute it and we put it into our house plants or spread it on the garden. Some people say not to do that because of the bacteria that's in there, but we've been doing it now for a couple of years and had pretty good success with it, so can't argue with success, I guess. Okay, the next step to do is to take off the top. The top becomes a tray for me to set the bottom in. Now I'm going to step on these corners a little bit because sometimes this tray gets a little stuck getting off of there, and this one's not going to be an exception to that rule. There we go. And then that sets right down into that. It's pretty darn heavy. Okay, and in the bottom here, there's quite a bit of stuff, and there's actually quite a few worms in there, which is unusual. Usually there's not too many worms down in that bottom part. Let me get you a closer shot of that. I don't know if you can see that or not, but that's all prime stuff, and I'll get the worms out of there and scoop that off and save that. That's going to go right into the garden. Okay. I'm going to temporarily scoop it up into these old coffee jars, and then I'll get the worms out later. Actually, what I'll do is I'll put it on top of that bottom tray and use it to get the worms out of there. You can see there's quite a bit. This is pretty prime stuff down here. This has been sitting there. I'm actually a little overdue in doing this. Normally I can get maybe once a month or so. I swap trays and get a trays full of compost out of it, but this time that's due to circumstances beyond my control. This is probably going on 3 months. So this is going to be packed with a lot more than I'm usually getting. Okay, then I'm going to take this outside and rinse it off with the garden hose, and it's going to be rinsed into the garden, so none of it's going to go to waste. I'll do that and be right back. It's raining out today, so I didn't do quite as thorough a job as I normally do, but it'll be fine. This is what they call the worm ladder, and that, in case any worms do crawl down in there, gives them an opportunity to crawl back up and out. So, now the next step is to separate these two, because that bottom tray is the one I'm going to be harvesting, and this next one down will become my new bottom tray. And get that seated down there nicely, and then just kind of wipe off some of the excess here. That's going to be saved, paper towel and all. Nothing goes to waste. Okay, now to prepare for the new tray, I have some core coconut fiber mixed up here. You buy it in those little bricks and then soak them with water. And that's going to go in the new tray. But I want to get some of this stuff out of there. This paper. Because that's going to be loaded with the bacteria. And that'll give the new tray a little food for starting up its new level of bacteria. And now I'm smoothing this out, try to make it level as I can. And the reason for that is so that the new tray sits on there nice and straight and makes a good contact with the bottom. The idea here is we want the worms that are in here to migrate up through the holes in the bottom of the tray and into the new tray. In preparation for doing this, I stopped putting scraps of food into the tray about 3 days ago, so that when they smell the new food in the new tray, which is here, they will be enticed to come up and get it. And then be sure that makes good contact, which it does very nicely. And then we just fill it up, adding the old stuff here first. And I'm also going to put some food for them in there so they can smell that, and it's close to the bottom. Hang on, I have to go get it. These plastic coffee cans are a very useful item when it comes to working with the worms. And gardening in general, I use them all the time. And I'm going to put some good healthy dollops of food in each corner just to get them going. Now this food is just all vegetable scraps and waste from our kitchen, and what we do is we run them through a food processor just to make them into small bits, and that way the worms can go through them quicker, and it creates a little bit of rots away quicker, so it's more enticing to them too. Now I'm just going to put the core in there, cover everything up. And spread it around. When you wet the core, as I said, it comes in a brick. I'm sure you're all familiar with that. You want to make it a little bit on the dry side. You don't want it too wet, because you don't want to over moisture your worm food here at all. And then I'm going to make this as smooth as I can get it, for the same reason as I did the other one, because then the tray I'm going to be harvesting, which is stuck to the top, is going to go on top, and I'm going to leave the cover off for a few days, and then every day I'll come and I'll scrape this, loosen up the top part of the soil. Now the worms don't like light, so they will, if I leave the top off, they will, any worms that are left in there, and there are a few, I can see them, they will tend to migrate down and also into that new feeding tray. And then I'll scoop off this top layer and just keep doing that. In fact, I'm going to add the stuff that I took off the bottom. just to help get the worms out of it too. This little trowel is a handy thing to have for this. It came with the worm farm, but any kind of little implement would be good, because otherwise you end up with your hands a nice brown color, and it's I mean, it doesn't smell, it's just nice compost, so it's not bad, but it's nicer to keep them clean. Okay, that's it really. Then the next project is to gradually remove this, and even with doing this, there's still going to be a few worms left in there, and you just have to pick those out by hand as the time progresses. But that's it, and then this whole tray eventually will just be compost that will be dug into the garden, and it does wonders for making plants grow. That's about it for now. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.